Tonight, 5 COVID-19 related deaths and 155 new cases recorded on the island in the last 24 hours, taking the death toll from the virus to 179 and confirmed cases to 8,600. In an update, 26 additional COVID-19 cases today confirmed at the Golden Age home in Vineyard Town in Kingston, where expedited testing for COVID-19 is ongoing following a cluster of cases at the facility. Still tonight, two 4,500 square foot broiler units unveiled earlier today at the Tamarind Farm Correctional Center in Spanish Town, St. Catherine.
A project of this nature is particularly important, and it's particularly important because of the rehabilitation part of it.
And PNP presidential candidate Lisa Hanna launches plan entitled The Way Forward to reunite, reposition, and rebrand the party. Good evening. 5 COVID-19 related deaths and 155 new cases were recorded on the island in the last 24 hours. The latest fatalities takes the death toll from the coronavirus to 179 and the total of confirmed cases on record to 8,600. According to the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the deceased are 2 males from St. James aged 61 and 39 years, a 61-year-old male from Portland, and 2 males from St. Mary aged 67 and 52 years. 2 of the cases were previously placed under investigation. Now, of the newly confirmed cases, 79 are males and 76 are females ranging in age from 6 months to 93 years. The cases were recorded in Kingston and St. Andrew with 63 cases, St. James 27, St. Anne and St. Catherine 19 cases, Manchester and Hanover 8 cases each, Trelawney and Portland 3 cases, Westmoreland 2 cases, while Clarendon, St. Elizabeth and St. Mary recorded 1 case each. There are 19 moderately ill and 8 critically ill patients among the 4,214 active cases now under observation in Jamaica. There were 79 recoveries, taking the total of recoveries on record to 4,095. In a news update, expedited testing for COVID-19 at the Golden Age home in Vineyard Town in Kingston is ongoing, following the discovery of a cluster of cases at the facility. An additional 26 cases have been confirmed in the last 24 hours.
564 persons have been sampled to date. We did say in our initial press briefing that we would provide testing for all. Of the results received today, October 22nd, 2020, for samples taken at the Golden Age home, yesterday, 26 were positive. So we have had 26 new positives, which brings the total number of positives to 69. And the breakdown of that 69 are as follows: 19 staff members, 40 residents, and 10, I'm told, to be determined. So 10 is being sorted out to be determined whether it's a staff or a resident or otherwise. So 19 staff and 40 residents, 10 to be determined, total of 69 positives of the 564 tested. Over the next few weeks, the health team will continue to support the staff, the home, with the monitoring of the health status of the residents, train in infection prevention and control practices and procedures, and provide clinical support to any resident or staff who may become moderately or severely ill. The ministry again wishes to assure the public, as well as families and friends of staff and residents, that all the necessary measures are being implemented to ensure the best possible health outcome for this outbreak. And so we continue to monitor and to manage the process at the Golden Age home.
Meanwhile, in the wake of the recent reports of positive COVID-19 cases at the Golden Age home in Kingston, the St. James Municipal Corporation has stepped up protocols at the St. James Infirmary, which it manages. Now, since the first case of COVID-19 on the island in March, the corporation says it has implemented several preventative measures at the infirmary. The measures are aimed at preventing an outbreak of COVID-19 at the facility, which houses 53 residents. A number of hand-washing sinks and sanitizing stations have been installed at strategic locations on the compound. In addition to sanitization efforts and in keeping with instructions from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, no visitors are being allowed on the premises, while the members of staff must undergo temperature checks and sanitization upon entry. Head of the St. James Infirmary, Matron Jacqueline Wilson, informed that robust efforts are being observed on a daily basis to ensure full adherence to all the safety protocols outlined by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Mayor of Montego Bay, Councillor Leroy Williams, has endorsed the measures implemented at the infirmary, measures which he says are part of a holistic plan to protect the residents and members of staff against COVID-19. Still making news tonight, the Ministry of Education is reminding that daycare centers and early childhood institutions are permitted to reopen operations subject to the provisions of the disaster risk management orders. In a statement made yesterday, the ministry outlined that the government has advised that daycare centers may operate during regular business hours. The statement said that operators are required to ensure, among other things, that signage appropriately customized for children and adults must be placed. These signs must advise of all the applicable health protocols for the center and be conspicuously placed throughout the center, including at each entrance. Additionally, members of staff are to be trained in and sensitized to all the health protocols. At the start of each day of operations, the children at the center are to be instructed about health protocols and safety practices, such as properly covering the nose and mouth while coughing or sneezing to minimize the transmission of flu-like viruses. Now, the statement went on to outline that prior to reporting for work for the first time during the period, each person employed at the center is required to be tested for COVID-19. Employees shall not be permitted at the centers unless cleared as healthy for work. Now, it is expected that during the hours of operations, there will be sufficient staff to ensure proper supervision of children at all times. The order also advises of permitted ratios. In news from St. Catherine, two 4,500 square foot broiler units were unveiled earlier today at the Tamarind Farm Correctional Center. More on this story with Tamara Mikhail.
Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Senator Matthew Samuda, earlier today unveiled two 4,500 square foot broiler units at the Tamarind Farm Correctional Center in Spanish Town, St. Catherine, which is expected to produce 98 tons of broiler meat. Senator Samuda, in his remarks, said that this project, which is a part of the ministry's Rehabilitation Through Agriculture program, will have huge and immediate impact.
When you consider a project of this nature and you understand that it is likely to save the DCS upwards of $13 million a year if we're able to produce the chicken meat that is projected, and you consider that Newport Mills would have contributed some $7 million towards the project already, it's clear that this is not chicken feed. There are many benefits for this, and it should communicate to the country that there are some steps that we're taking. The benefits are that we're becoming more self-sufficient in our food production. We're bringing down the cost of operation in very tight economic times. Every time you save something like $13 million, it helps you to spend it on improving the nutrition of inmates. It helps us to give us some room for their education efforts, and it certainly at times like this helps us to invest a little bit more into the health care of our inmates that we do have a duty of care for. Now, a project of this nature is particularly important, and it's particularly important because of the rehabilitation part of it. The money saved though, is nothing to scoff at and is something that we're very happy for. But the rehabilitation effort is one more step in the right direction.
Senator Samuda also expressed the importance of every effort in the rehabilitation process.
The country suffers from a reoffending rate above 40%. Every effort to improve the quality of our rehabilitation efforts is a step in reducing crime, is a step in citizen security, or in providing rather greater citizen security. You will see continued efforts and continued steps in this direction as we improve our rehabilitation efforts. The team at DCS and MNS are working around the clock to upsize and upskill our We Transform project, which is one of our premier efforts in reaching out to inmates. And you'll hear more about that towards the end of this calendar year and early in the new year. One of the things that we've not done very well over our time with DCS, and I'd say since independence, is, quite frankly, we have not prepared our inmates for reintegration. The way we have approached rehabilitation is rehabilitating individuals to go back to communities that would have existed 50, 60 years ago. We have not modernized our rehabilitation efforts, and this is a step in that modernization. It's a step in ensuring that the inmates housed at the Tamarind Farm Correctional Facility will receive genuine lessons that allow them to go back into their communities and function. And that is where I think we've fallen down, and that is where we have to realign all of our rehabilitation efforts.
He further said that the parole board is working to ensure inmates that are eligible for parole receive a fair hearing.
The parole board is working around the clock to ensure that those who are eligible for parole are given a fair hearing. We are well aware of the calls that have been made for persons to be released because of COVID. We've made it clear that early release at a wholesale or wide-scale level is not the policy of the government. We, however, do not want to house inmates that should not be in our facilities or that should not be in the facilities as long as they should, as they are, because of bureaucratic processes that move slowly. So the parole board has committed to meeting as often as is necessary, as soon as project files are prepared, to ensure that persons are given a fair hearing to determine if they can be released, so they're not held within our facilities any longer than they need to be. And the truth is, this should happen with or without COVID, but with the emergency of COVID, it puts the impact, it puts the importance of this taking place at a high. The other step that we're taking, and we would have started looking at, we've been putting a lot of work into the issues surrounding our mentally ill inmates and the issues surrounding our bedridden inmates. Very soon, we will announce a new arrangement for our bedridden inmates to receive significantly greater care while they are housed in a different facility. Some of them, we believe, as they go through the process with the courts, will be released soon. Those that are not released soon, because the courts do not see it fit to do, will be in a facility that can provide the type of care that all human beings who are infirmed should receive.
A representative from the Newport Mills Limited, Winston Thomas, explained that the poultry production program will also facilitate training for inmates as part of the ongoing rehabilitation program.
Today, it is the unveiling of 2 brand new poultry houses over there with a capacity to house 9,000 baby birds. It will give you about 6.5 cycles of crop of birds per year, producing about 208 to 210,000 pounds of chicken meat. But the big picture of the project, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just about producing the meat. It is the knowledge that will be gained by the inmates of this institution. It is the training facility that the inmates will be trained to go back into their local community where they can now make a meaningful life for themselves and their family. I would also like to use this opportunity again to thank the DCS for allowing us as a private sector company to be a part of this project. We have started our training sessions. As a matter of fact, today we're going to hand out some certificates that we have done training with inmates and correctional officers alike. And we want to commit ourselves as a company to the continued training of these people through the able support of our technical team headed by Dr. Young and Dr. Craig.
For Mello TV News, I am Tamara McHale.
In news from the capital, for the second time this week, robbers traveling on a motorcycle targeting persons in the Ligony area of St. Andrew were caught by the police. A man was apprehended and a search is now underway for another following a reported shootout between police and would-be robbers in a section of St. Andrew yesterday. Police reports coming into our news center are that at approximately 11:45 a.m., two armed men on a motorcycle attempted to stage a robbery at the intersection of Old Hope Road and North Avenue when they were intercepted by the cops. A shootout reportedly ensued between the police and the armed men before one of the would-be robbers was held and a Beretta pistol and the motorcycle seized. The other man, whom it is believed was injured in the confrontation, managed to escape. Authorities say they are currently conducting a search to locate the fugitive. In news from Clarendon, a man has been arrested by investigators after abducting a 13-year-old girl and attempting to sexually assault her in an area known as Darkness in Kellett District in the parish on October 16. Accused is 40-year-old Donald Thompson, taxi operator of Corners District, Cross Hill. Reports are that at about 11:50 a.m., the complainant boarded a car being driven by Thompson. Thompson allegedly pulled off the main road and took the teen to an area where he attempted to assault her. She, however, managed to escape. The police were summoned and Thompson was pointed out to them. He was subsequently arrested and charged with assault with intent to rape and abduction of a person under 16 years. His court date is being finalized. Still making news tonight, the People's National Party's candidate in the upcoming election for the presidency of the party to be held on November 7, Lisa Hanna yesterday launched her plan called The Way Forward to reunite, reposition and replan the party. The plan, launched on her website www.lisahanna.com, simultaneously with her nomination at noon at the PNP's headquarters. Ms. Hanna said the plan will renew the party and put it in a position to offer sustainable policies to improve the lives of the Jamaican people, especially the poor. She asserted that the task is neither simple nor easy, but instead demands unity of purpose and mission. Ms. Hanna also highlighted reorganization and strengthening of the party's secretariat, outlining that the General Secretary will not be an elected parliamentarian and will focus on the PNP. Ms. Hanna said the group system would also be revitalized. The PNP presidential candidate is also proposing that the party be more rigorous in selecting and vetting candidates nationally and locally. This, she says, will include a structured system of orientation, training and development, ongoing field monitoring and key performance indicators for candidates and elected representatives to stay on the ground with the people they represent would be established as well. Full details of Ms. Hanna's plan are outlined in detail on her website. In the meantime, former Minister of National Security, Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, K.D. Knight, today endorsed presidential candidate Ms. Lisa Hanna as the next president of the People's National Party, PNP, and urged delegates to vote for her in the November 7 Special Delegates Conference. Mr. Knight, who served the House of Representatives for 4 terms as Member of Parliament for East Central St. Catherine and Senate for 3 terms, said he wholeheartedly endorses Ms. Hanna as a leader for the times. He says she has published an impressive plan for the rebuilding and rebranding of the party, and she possesses the required vision, skills, and energy to implement it. He expressed confidence that she will work in harmony with all levels of the 82-year-old party to bring about the necessary reforms and organizational restructuring to ensure that the PNP resumes its position as the premier political organization in Jamaica and the party of choice for the majority of the Jamaican electorate. Mr. Knight, who is an attorney at law, said he was committed to playing his part in the rebuilding process and to ensure a successful tenure of office for the new party leader. He fully expects the Member of Parliament for Southeastern St. Anne, Ms. Lisa Hanna, to prevail in the leadership election. And those were the stories making news. I am Shelley Ann Hill. We'll now take a break and then join Christopher Scott with sports.